man, I want to move on to another topic that's been going on in the sports world this week. So on Lebatard, it's been like a running thing on Lebatard these last, I'll probably say like the last couple months. It was like a quote unquote beef between Nick Wright and Pablo Torre. Now we all know Pablo Torre has a great podcast. Pablo Torre finds out. He's really just bringing back investigative journalism and being some stuff that we haven't seen in a while, even to the point where people will call him pocket watching and the hater and stuff like that, which is crazy to me. Now, I just want to say just up front, I don't care about this Kawhi Leonard story and have never cared about this Kawhi Leonard story for a couple of reasons. One, it's the Los Angeles Clippers. Los Angeles is not. Unless you got dirt on LeBron, nobody cares. And number two, there's so much dirt that goes on in professional sports with payments and stuff. This is the least shocking thing to me. Like, even what did Coach O say about the NIL? He said, first we was going through the front door. First we going through the back door of the money. Now we just going through the front door. There's nothing in all this stuff that shocks me. But Nick Wright basically, so Dan Lebatard had a fake studio ban for Nick Wright, and he finally lifted it. So Nick Wright came to the studio this week on Lebatard, and him and Pablo Torre had a nice little 30-minute back and forth, basically with Nick Wright saying, I can do what you do. I just don't choose to do it. And Pablo was disagreeing, of course. Now, what I wanted to talk to this esteemed panel about is actually a conversation that me, Bang, and Dante have a lot off air about the journalism, media personality, content creator thing. I personally feel, and I'm going to be very clear on this before any of my journalist friends text me when they see this, I believe there is room for both parties. I think both are necessary. In today's world of misinformation, I'll dare to say that we probably need journalism. We need journalism. Do we need media personalities and hot take artists? No. But it's entertaining. And at the end of the day, sports is also an entertaining business. But what I don't mess with is I feel like a lot of journalists carry themselves with the arrogance and a lot of the real hip hop type dudes. Like, if for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, somebody who, I can make albums and I care about bars compared to somebody like who just might be, or what they say, drill or trap music. Like let's just say like a Nas compared to like a Future or something like that. They
Nas
come
DJ
off real hip hop.
Nas DJ Premier dropped today.
Well, I heard DJ Premier is out there like Pat Ewing on Hakeem Olajuwon on the Raptors. That's what I heard, but I wouldn't listen to that anyway. But I digress. It's kind of like that conversation when Nas was talking about hip hop was dead in 2006 when snap music was killing everything. So I personally don't like the arrogance that comes with it, and I also don't feel like and this might be controversial. I feel like I know me personally. If I wanted to be a journalist, I believe I could. If I actually wanted to do research and find out, break up stories, I feel like I personally could. I feel a lot of journalists sometimes don't have the charisma to do the in front of the microphone thing. And I think that's a fair thing to say. And I think there needs to be a common ground where we both understand that we kind of need each other right now. But I do feel from most that journalists kind of look down at what I guess content creators and media personalities. I've even seen tweets sometimes. How are they getting credentialed? And then somebody like mine who gets credentialed, I take offense to that because I just don't get in front of a microphone and just start talking. Now, there are a lot of people who do that. I do believe we live in a podcast world and there's way too many podcasts. But I also feel like you need to adjust with the times too. So I feel like this was an interesting conversation. And when Nick Wright brought up a story that he actually did break, to see Pablo kind of backtrack on that, I think whatever you feel about Nick Wright, honestly, I'm not really a fan of Nick Wright either. But I do believe that Pablo can't do what he can. That's just my personal opinion on that. Now I want to go to Dante first, because Dante, you went in the last segment. What's your thought? I don't know if you saw the segment, and if you didn't, just what's your overall thought on a journalism versus media personality content creation thing?
Yeah, I saw it, and I get where it comes from. I didn't go to J school, but I went to school and I studied journalism. So it's more so of the fact that you have people in the space who don't follow certain journalistic standards. Like, you could be a content creator, but there's still certain things you shouldn't do. certain things are unnecessary, certain things are uncalled for. And like you said, those are a lot of the people why it's tougher for us to get and keep our credentials, because they look at them and they say, see, this is why we only want people who've gone to journalism school, done the required research to do this. Because I mean, we talk about it in a negative way, but the reality is, in a lot of spaces you need gatekeepers, and certain spaces have gatekeepers that are built in. And with journalism, if you didn't go to like the big five, which would I would say, you know, Syracuse, Columbia, Northwestern, there's a couple of other ones, but if you didn't go to those schools, yeah, most definitely Mizzou. If you didn't go to one of those, you know, it's gonna be a little tougher for you. Like those people, a lot of the people I know who are at the top of the top in this industry, those are the schools they went to. So it's one of those things where they have these gatekeepers in place, so they're always gonna feel a certain way when people who come and grind like we did. Like I said, I didn't go to J school, and I started podcasting in my living room, and so to go from that to being in the stadiums, in the clubhouses, doing all of that, it takes some. But also, I believe that we take this serious. Like it's a certain level of seriousness and professionalism that you do have to have, even if you don't always dress the part. I know that for some people that's the big thing. Because like me, I'm not gonna wear the Hawaiian shirts and you know,
No,
that's
I'm
just
not
not
gonna
me.
be wearing. I'm
Not
not
what I
gonna be
do.
wearing the Bunk Moreland suits.
Yeah,
I'm not.
like,
I'm not doing none of that. I pull up with a flannel, a fitted hat. I come up with a hoodie, bro. I
yeah.
come to Hallis Hall in sweatpants, bro. I'm not like I ain't gonna lie, bro. I'm like I'm be here for 2 hours tops. Like
Yeah.
I got to drive an hour and a half. So, and I do think that's part of it. And this is also not to cut you off, Dante, but I think what you're saying about the school stuff, and I noticed this a lot in both my time covering the Clippers and my current time covering the Bears. I think the dressing throws them off about how we dress, how we carry ourselves. And I also think that a lot of them are upset that they went to school, did all this stuff. I didn't. I went to a performing arts school. Okay. Anybody know anything about Columbia College Chicago? That's basically Def Jam University. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I went to school. You know what I'm saying? And I'm in the same room as you in quicker time. So I think there's a little bit of that. I think more than anything, there just needs to be a mutual respect. I think there's too much bickering
But
instead of seeing the side that both bring to the table, in my opinion.
see, here's first of all, Dante is spot on. I when I was in college, I was, journalism was my major, and unfortunately, my little brother had a huge accident, so I had to drop out and everything. But I always wish that I probably would have went back and finished what I'm started. And now, in the position that I sit in, um, sometimes I'm shocked that I'm in this role, but sometimes I'm not, because I always kept those standards at the very least. I might not have went to J school. I might not have finished, but I keep those same standards. You're also talking to somebody who's been podcasting since 2012. Like, I've been podcasting before we was using that term. Um, Hell, one of the things I was telling my homie Cam from the port is I didn't realize I was trying to start a podcast network in 2009. Not realizing like that's what I was trying to do. I consider myself forward thinking, innovative on a lot of my ideas. So when we're talking about podcasting, this is not a podcast conversation. I think what has happened more than anything outside of podcasting is that people are getting the show host, the journalist, and the analyst mixed up. Um, I'll use some stuff that I'll see on the internet all the time, and considering what aired on Wednesday, I think it's perfect. Oh man, Stephen A. Well, Stuart Scott died, so people like Stephen A. could take over and stuff like that, and people will talk like push up Scott the shit on Stephen A. Smith. There's a difference between the two. Even though he did some of the work, Stuart Scott was the host.
Right.
He was the host. He was the
Stephen A is
point
a
guard.
journalist.
Stephen A. started as a journalist,
Yeah.
ended up as a TV analyst. People used to look at the host as the most popular person. People used to look at James Brown or Kurt Menefee or Jim Nance or Bob Costas or all of those people as the lead. People would look at Peter Vesey, or other journalists, Mitch Albom, all those people that's on the sports writers. They
All the
used
sports
to be the
reporters.
star. All the sports reporters used to be the star. They're not anymore. The Nick Wrights, the Stephen A. Smiths, all of those people are the stars. And even when you look at TV, you don't see them hiring a lot of journalists
Nope.
to fill those roles. You see more and more straight analysts. Like it, even the way some of these insiders we see, a lot of these insiders we see was working at an AOL, a startup, and AOL bought them, so they was on AOL Fan House and other stuff, or they was doing stuff on their draft boards, and they became popular in the sports blog era, and now they're the insiders. All of those dudes that had the pencils in their ears or in their pocket with press inside of the pocket, the suit coat and everything, and the beat writers, they're non-existent because that is non-existent. So what I saw there is the new age journalist who's trying to get back to the new age shit, which investigative journalism has been around since forever. Investigative journalism is in the Bible, basically, ladies and gentlemen. You got those people who are fighting against the analysts because they don't have a place no more. They're fighting against the new age hosts because they don't have a place no more. What you and Dante do, and I told you this, what you and Dante do are the new it's the new journalism. What I also love about working with y'all two is that y'all don't just do this, get on this camera and just talk and do this. You prepare. And that's also what's missing in what we see today. We see more people not planning and preparing than just going on TV and saying some shit. Or like I've always say, producers don't be producing. So
Yep.
to me,
That's the
that's what
main
I
thing.
thought. This ain't about podcasting. This is about the journalists versus the analysts. And those people, the journalists, are getting phased out by the talking heads that's there because they're loud.
It's a good
And they
point,
got to
man.
make a
Good point.
decision. They got to
Yeah.
make a decision. Do you want to be the hard-nosed journalist? Well, go take your ass to the Athletic. But over here, we loud and we just saying shit.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I just want to clarify once again, I think journalism is needed. I just think that,
Very
you
much
know,
so.
we step into the new era. In the words of Slim Charles, not in it right here. The thing about the old days, they the old days. That's the best thing. When Bodie kept talking about what they used to do when Avon and Stringer was on the block. Well, Marlowe's outside now. Okay. And Marlowe has a podcast. And I'm with you, Bang. I was podcasting. I started podcasting in 2015. The only person I knew with a podcast at that time was Combat Jack and Joe Budden. Okay. So I didn't even know anybody. Like I obviously I knew Bang in 2015, but I didn't even know Bang was podcasting. Like that's how different the game is.